good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be watching and tuning in. My name is Marva B. I am the CEO and founder of Black Link Magazine, and this is the Black Link Experience. And we are welcoming Miss Angela Ardis, who is a TV, film, animated, memoir writer, author, all of those things. And we cannot wait to hear what she has to say. But first of all, Angela, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, we are so excited to have you here. And let's just get right in and let's have you to tell the world who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Angela Ardis, as you stated. I am a writer. I write pretty much every genre, film, television, animation, live productions, internet content, novels for sure. I started writing when I was 7. Wrote my first short story that was published in Reader's Digest at 12, and have been writing ever since. I've had diaries. I've kept those since I was 7, so I have a plethora of diaries also. But writing has just been a passion. I love telling stories.
Yes. When you're telling stories, what mindset do you get in? Does it just depends on the mood that you're in? Where does it take you? How do you prepare for that? What goes on in the mind of a writer?
It just kind of depends on the project. If someone gave me a project that they did a pretty detailed outline for, then I try to get inside of what I know that they're asking me for. A lot of times I do not implement too much more than what you've asked me for, because I want your project to be what you want it to be, because it's your project. You know what I mean? You hired me as a writer. I'm writing your vision, not my vision. I will have, you'll have meetings and stuff like that, that you'll interject and say, hey, how about this or how about that, but not anything that would deter from what their original ideals were. When I write my own stuff, the characters tend to take over. It has nothing to do with me. Once I come up with a thought, wherever that thought came from, those characters come to life and they pour out. I'm just kind of like the vehicle to get the information out.
Right.
If that makes sense.
That's good. That's good. Let me ask you this. What's the difference between writing for a film, writing your book, or doing a memoir? Like what are your different settings? I mean, how does that work? Because there is a difference. There's a different way you have to write for each of those.
Yeah. So writing a book, it's way more detailed, because the reader has to see what I see. They have to see what the characters are actually doing, what it looks like. What did the room look like? If I'm writing a script, I don't have to give you that kind of information. I can just put interior Angela's bedroom day. I can say, highly contemporary. So that's the set designer's job, to decide what highly contemporary looks like for Angela based off of whatever the script and her personality is in the script. In a novel, I've created an entire environment. I've created an entire situation. I know who these people are. So therefore, I have to then show you. So when you walk in that room, you know that the comforter is lavender, or there's a chaise lounge, or the floor to ceiling windows overlook the backyard or beautiful garden. You have to be able to see that in a book. Writing a memoir, it's more the person whose memoir it is, they've created a situation, because those are recordings. So when I did Delay's book, we recorded for about 2.5, almost 3 months.
Wow.
And then I transcribed those recordings and used his voice as the vehicle that drove the book. It wasn't my book. I'm the vehicle to get the book done.
Right.
But it was like over 1,200 pages of transcript that had to be narrowed down to I think it's 371 or 400 pages that book is. Wow. So knowing how to put somebody's story together so that it's intriguing and it's engulfing, and you feel what they feel, and you go through the same emotions that he went through in giving in the recording. That's the journey for a memoir to me.
Wow, that's very interesting. I always wonder, how does a film how's a film written from the beginning to the end, and then how they put it all together, right? And you said it. If I write it, then it's there on them to say, okay, what are they envisioning when you say Angela's room and what it looks like? And that's very interesting to me and other film writers, I'm sure, that are trying to get into the business. But let's switch the tables a little bit, because you wrote a memoir, Tupac Shakur, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about your experience doing that and how you even got connected to be able to write the memoir, how it landed in your hands.
It was crazy. It was a bet. It started out as a bet at my job. I was working at Junior Achievement at the time. It was about 10 o'clock at night. We were putting together board books. We had a board meeting the next day, and we had the radio on, and Roughneck came on, MC Light's Roughneck. And they said, if you could have a Roughneck, who would you want? So I said Tupac. My roommate, who I worked with at the time, she said Tretch. And then it was like, I bet you can't get in touch with him. Well, he was in jail.
Right.
So I was like, I probably cannot. They were like, well, I bet you can. Let's just try. And so I don't win bets. I've never won a bet in my entire life. That was the first bet I've ever won in my entire life. And I got home. I didn't think any more of it, really. And my roommate came in and she was like, so what are you going to do? How are you going to get in touch with Tupac? I have no idea, because in my mind, I just didn't think it would be as simple as it was. Right. I had an uncle at the time who was in jail. I knew that you needed a prisoner number in order to actually write. I knew which jail he was in. Right. So I called Rikers Island. I asked for Tupac's prisoner number. And 15 seconds later, I had the address, prisoner number, and sitting there trying to figure out, did this just happen?
Right.
You know? And then I said, well, how is he going to find your letter in the stacks of letters that you know? I mean, I was sure.
That was my...
if it was that easy for me, I mean, my God, the whole world is writing Tupac.
That was my next question. Like, out of all those people writing Tupac, Angela.
So I said, a different color envelope. I'll get a fuchsia envelope. So I went to Kinko's. Kinko's was around at that time. I went to Kinko's. I was going to do fuchsia envelope and fuchsia paper because, of course, they had every color of the rainbow. But fuchsia was one of my favorite colors. And the fuchsia paper didn't quite work out. It was too much going on when you put the words on there. It was just too blurry. So I just kept the fuchsia envelope, sprayed it with Perry Ellis 360 perfume, and mailed it off. And he called.
He called?
I put my number in there, and he called. He left a message on my machine. It was crazy.
What was the message?
Hey, this is Tupac. Sorry that I missed you. I'm going to give you a call back tomorrow.
Really?
I was like, wait a minute. I thought I was being punked. Like, I really did think that. It was a joke. So this was at 2:00 in the morning when I got the message. So I had the old school answering machine that once you hit it, it rewinds itself and erases. I didn't know that. So I took the cassette out, the little bitty cassette, and I ran to my roommate's room. Right. I was like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. Tupac called. It's on here. We got to go to the job and they had a small recorder at the job that cassette tape would have fit in. And she was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? It's 2:00 in the morning, mind you. Now we have the key to the building. We could easily have, if we were in the culture that we're in right now, we could have got murdered.
Right.
But however, we went, I drove her. I said, just bring your pillow and your blanket. I'll drive. I just need you to go with me.
Right.
We went in there, could not find the recorder at all.
Of course.
So it was it was gone. I had lost the message, period. But the next day, he did call, and that's how it all got started.
So he called, you answered. What was the first words?
How you doing?
Would you?
This is Tupac. You try to play it, I tried to play it so cool.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a fan out thing. It was just, I thought he was hot. That was my roughneck guy.
Absolutely.
I just was like, you just got to get in touch with him. That's it. I got in touch with him, so I had won the bet. I never in a million years would have thought that he would have called of all the things, like ever that.
Yeah.
And we talked maybe, because I asked him how was he calling me, like, you know, he didn't call me collect.
Right.
So he had phone privileges that I guess other people didn't have. And we talked for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, maybe about 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay.
And he was like, can you write me? Will you write me? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So that's how that got started. And I wrote my first letter, I think, that night.
So in writing those letters, at what point did you say, or how did it come about that we were going to do this memoir? Like was it just a collection of letters that you had in between? How did that work?
So after he died, 4 years later, I'm in LA, living in LA. I'm no longer in Atlanta. And I had a friend over and we were writing poetry or whatever. I write poetry and stuff. And I was like, do you want to read a poem from Tupac?
Oh.
He was like, you have a poem from Tupac? I said, I have several. So I went and got one of the letters and I brought it down. It's like, how many of these do you have? I said, I don't know. You know, so I went and got the stack and he said, you should write a book. And I was like, oh no. Oh no. You know, I couldn't figure out how to write a book to put that stuff in there.
Yeah.
He was like, just put them in a book and put it out. And I was like, I can't, this is Tupac you're talking, I would get murdered. You can't just put.
That's my next question. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, I was very nervous, but this is not just any old body. You don't just, you know, and it took me maybe 2 months or so. It just kind of was in there, but not really in there, thinking about how would I do that.
Right.
And I said, I guess I could just tell my story. I could just tell everybody like how it happened, you know. It's my one story in my life that I could live to tell, you know. I didn't have it. And then I just started writing. It took me 4 months to write it and 4 years for it to come out.
Gosh. So Angie, let me ask you, did it take the 4 years to come out because you had to get permissions on some things, or was it that you could just write it? Because I mean, this is Tupac we're talking about, and you're getting ready to put some stuff out that you guys talked about. How does that work?
The problem was that I thought I owned the letters completely, like, because he wrote them to me. And legally, I could not use his letters commercially because he authored those letters and the estate owned anything that he's authored. So I had to get permission from the estate in order to use the letters. And that was a process. And so that same friend who initiated the situation crashed a party in Atlanta where Afeni was. And I had given him 3 chapters of the book to give to her because I didn't want to give out the whole book. I mean, and she liked it. And then she put me in touch with, or she put him to tell me to be in touch with Carolyn Ali, who passed, I think, a few years ago. And so it became a situation where the going back and forth of the contract was so tedious at a certain point that I rewrote the contract several times, and I had an attorney dealing with it, but I was so over it. I said, you know what? I need a meeting. I need a meeting because we cannot do the book at all. It didn't matter to me at that point. It was so much going on, and it was just forget it. It was crazy. So we went to the attorneys. Dina LaPote was the attorney at the time for them, and me and her went toe to toe. It was the most amazing meeting I've ever had in my whole life. It was so amazing. And I kept telling my attorney, I was like, I can't give them the whole book. They're going to want the whole book. I don't know them like that to give anybody the whole anything. And so Carolyn was in that meeting and they said, well, how do you expect her to read it? I said, well, she can tell me what her schedule is. I will adjust my entire life for her to read this book. I'll come every day if she wants to come every day and read however much she wants to read, and then I'll bring it back later. But I'm not giving you the whole book. So then they were like, well, how long will that take? I said, I don't know. How fast can you read? I don't know. That was how I was inside the meeting because it just didn't matter anymore. You know, me and her became really good friends.
I
Me
bet.
and Carolyn were really, it was beautiful. It grew, you know what I'm saying? So I would go to Interscope every other day, pretty much, and she read that book.
So you went and sat there while she read the book.
Yep, it never left my sight.
That's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So we can move on. You have a lot more than this, but this was just interesting to me. Whenever you got the book done, so let me back up. When you talked to Tupac and he got out of jail, you never crossed paths again?
Never.
That's
never did.
Crazy.
Never did.
Okay.
Yep.
And so 4 years later, she read it, everybody approved it, you got all your approvals, and the book was out.
The book was out, and I was hiding the morning that it came out. I was hiding under the covers. I was scared to death.
Yes.
And my phone was blowing up, and my girlfriend called, and she was like, "Oh my God, they're talking about your book on the radio." And I was scared to turn it on. I didn't know
what they were going to say. It's crazy because listen, that's Tupac. And if you know Tupac and you followed him like I did, he would have been my thug man too.
Right. Right.
If you followed him like that, you know, like this is kind of touchy.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't know how people are going to react. But at the end of the day, Angie, you can't please everybody. The people that you needed to please, you pleased them. And obviously, let's tell the world how the book did.
The book is still doing
amazing.
Yeah, because there's generations now that are finding it. The new millennials are finding it.
Yes.
Everybody, you know, I haven't had any bad press on that book. It wasn't anything negative that ever happened. You know, you had a couple people here and there. That's fine. I mean, that was
going to happen. Yeah,
absolutely. But as an overall, people love that book. They appreciate being able to see another side of him through his own words, because there was nothing in that book that I told you about Tupac. It was Tupac. It was the sharing of the letters that he wrote to me. Some of them were 14 pages long, that he was able to share, that you could see something else in him that you wouldn't have seen it otherwise. Wow. You wouldn't have seen it.
He was something special. He was very special.
Absolutely.
All right. I guess we can turn the tables now since we've talked about it long enough. So let's talk about your other endeavors. You have a lot that you've done. I was looking at your biography, work with Benzino and a whole bunch of other people. Let's talk about those experiences.
So I worked with a production company called Tier 2 Film and wrote with them. They had a menage of genres that are just amazing, and they don't even have the majority of their content out yet, but it was amazing. And and I'm still working with them. It's a great experience. They have a lot of different stuff that's not out there right now. I think that the industry is so difficult sometimes when they're trying to put out something that hasn't been seen before.
Right.
And they have a lot of content like that, especially for people of color.
Yeah.
It's just,
of course,
I'm excited about that. I can't talk a lot about that content because it's more their content than our content.
Okay.
But they have a lot of wonderful things that they're working on and that we've already written that is going to blow everybody's mind.
Wow. So Angela, how do you go about getting your jobs? Like, do they pick up the phone? Well, now, I mean, you know, you're known now, but previously, like, how were you getting jobs? Were getting your gigs? Were people just saying, referring you? It was the relationships you were building, all the above?
It has been word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
It has honestly been word of mouth and happenstance. That's what I like to call a lot of it. It's happenstance. I'm in the right place at the right time sometimes. Mm-hmm. And you meet certain people, and then a year or so later, they hit you up, and it's like, hey, I need a writer. And it bounces from there. That's how I've gotten every single thing that I've gotten thus far, is that somebody that I met somewhere along the way, or somebody that knew somebody that needed a writer referred me. Yeah. Based off of them either knowing me and my personality, or knowing the things that I've done, or conversations that we've had. So it's been great. I can't be mad.
Yeah, sorry. You know, it's important to, when you get relationships, when you start building those relationships, it's important how you handle those relationships and how you keep those relationships. Because like you said, now they knew who Angela was and your personality. Hey, let me call Angela. And so relationships are important. So
yeah, and I try to keep the integrity of relationships really good, even if I'm not talking to you every day.
yeah,
That you still know that you can reach out, and I will call you back, and it's not a thing where oh, now she can't call somebody. Now
right.
you're not talking.
Funny. So whenever you, so do you, once you write your memoirs and you write your personal things, a lot of people go out on tour, they do book signings. Did you engage in all that? How did you market your business?
I did. So the Tupac book, the publishing house sent me on tour. So I
Mhm,
did go on tour. I think I was out there for about a month and a half.
mhm.
Um, that was fun.
Yeah,
That was a lot.
I bet.
That was fun. And with my own books, the self-publishing part is a little bit more tricky. And I have to say that I haven't done my due diligence all the way with the promotions of it and the marketing of it and all of that.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of trying to revamp it right now just to put it back, to re-release it back out there again. I'm not high on the social media. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing to be. I don't.
I
So I'm
learned.
thinking of getting somebody who does.
Yeah, I had to learn, and I'm still learning.
Oh man, I can't. I need a app where I can edit stuff. I don't know how to do that either, but I'm just thinking about hiring some people. This last 4 months of the year, I am revamping my whole situation so that 2022,
Yeah.
I hit the ground running and I'm not stutter stepping and trying to figure out what I'm doing, anymore.
Right.
Because it's these stories have to be told. The book that I wrote, The Block, I've written two
Yes.
of them.
Yes.
It's a trilogy, and I'm finishing up the third one. Hopefully it'll be out by end of year next year.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm turning that into a series as well, a
I
television
saw
series.
that. We were going to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tell me,
yes.
since we're on that subject, tell me what's your first step in turning this into, a film? How do you what is what is the first conversation you have to have with people?
With myself, I got to reread it again. I've got to reread it again. I think the conversation would be putting together a pitch deck, pulling together what resources I have to see where I can go with it, or try to go with it, try to get in with it. I don't know how much it'll have to change. I don't know, because it's very hard. It's a very dark.
Yeah.
We're talking about abuse and at levels that, and these are 10-year-olds in the middle of it, and it's through their voice. It's not like a flashback. It's in real time abuse. So it's heavy. That's that first book. And the second book kind of explains as adults what the first book was and who the relationships are and all of that. But I think as a series, I feel like it would be probably HBO-y. It's HBO-y to me.
Yeah, and well, if you do that, then you don't have to do too much changing. But
Hope not.
maybe not. But when you
Yeah.
talk about kids, I guess
Yeah, it's a touchy thing, and those kids would be going through it, because
yeah,
I would want it to be as raw as what it reads.
yeah,
Because a lot of times the stories don't match the books, and you're like, well, that's not
right,
what happened in the book.
yeah.
That's not.
It's not what I read. Yeah,
Right. Right. So I'm going to try to make it as raw as possible, and then if it needs to be calmed down a little bit, then that won't be hard to do.
right,
Hopefully, it won't lose its essence. So.
right. So I don't know if you can talk about this or not, but I hear you might be going out on tour.
I
Um,
heard that too.
You hear that? I hear you going out on tour with them, and it's going to be an amazing, amazing tour. Talk about that. What are you expecting from that?
I have no idea. I was brought in kind of midstream of it. Mike brought me in,
Yes.
and
Kudos to Mike.
yeah, yeah. And I don't know what I'm expecting.
You're just along for the ride, and just whatever happens. Hey.
That's been my life though. That's kind of been
Yeah.
it's been my life. Happenstance. Like, okay, she went out there and she never came back. Like, she enjoyed it so much she just never came back.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like it probably will
It will
be.
I think so.
Yeah, I think
hope
it's gonna
so.
be amazing.
Yeah. I really hope, that it turns out well. I can't wait to see how it does turn out. I know, and I'm not making this about Douglas, but I know that book is very, like, I interviewed him and I cried. So I can't wait to get your books and, you know, read them and see, you know, what's going on there. But I really do wish you all the best in everything that you are doing. Everything that I saw in your biography, of course, the Tupac, but in addition to that, it just caught my attention. And so if it caught my attention, because I don't have a long attention span, then, then I know that other people will enjoy what you have going on. So good luck on that. Go ahead and tell people how they can reach you. Well, on social media sites or however they can reach you.
Social media, Instagram, I'm Angela Ardis Writer. On Facebook, I'm Angela Ardis Author. And on Twitter, I'm Angela Ardis Author as well.
Okay. What do you feel, Angela, is your greatest achievement through all of this to date?
I think my greatest achievement is that I've continued to write.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
Yes.
And although the stories come, it is a very hard process. And a lot of people give up.
Oh, yeah.
And they give up midstream and they give up in the middle of stuff. And I have continued to write. So my biggest accomplishment or thing for that would be that I continue to write. Mm. You know, I look forward to the stories that have yet to come, you know, because I know what I have in here and I know what I have started and I know what's coming. Right. And I'm excited about it. You know, I'm writing things that I want to see, that I know people of color want to see. I want to see some real good stuff. You know, I want to see some different stuff, things that I'm going through, or things that I've gone through, or the people in my life have gone through. So just the fact that I've continued to write and I haven't given up is a big accomplishment for me.
I love that. I love that. So I don't know if this is for a writer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Okay. For you, is it the plot, the character, or the setting?
The character.
The character. Explain.
Because I'm a Gemini. So there's always 49 people in here talking and doing stuff. Me too. So to have the ability to experience somebody else's life, that's how I see the characters, that I can put myself inside of there and expand or live their life for a little while, whether it's horrifying or not horrifying. It gives me a certain level of compassion for everybody and empathy for everything, because I'm intertwining my life inside of all these characters' lives and understanding and coming to some resolution in the stories that are being told.
Right. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I wasn't too sure. I asked someone that was actually an actual actress. Okay. And for her, it was the character as well. It was the character as well. And I mean, I think once you create that character, you have that character, you know, set in stone, all that other stuff will fall in place.
Oh yeah.
That'll all come together. You have to make it come together once you got your character, I think.
You do, because the plot and everything means nothing if the character's not developed. If you're not feeling that character, you don't care about what's going on in the background. It could be Benzes and Bentleys and you could care less because the character's flat. That's right. So if the character is well-rounded and developed properly, you're all in with everything, the environment, the plot, the aesthetics.
I'm telling you, it'll all pull together once that character is there. And when I'm reading things, I imagine people, so I see them, you know, when I'm reading, I see them, I create what they look like to me. And then I stay in tune. So I can't wait to read your stuff. I'm really excited about that. So
let me know how you like it, if you like it, or if you don't like it, let me know.
No, I will do a review if you'd say so. I want to read the first block. And I'll let you know. So anyway, Angie, thank you so much, girl, for being here.
Absolutely.
I'm excited. I was so ready to talk to you, and I appreciate you sharing about the things you have going on in your life. So,
so
hopefully
much.
we will cross paths again. I can't wait to see you guys out on tour and see all that come together. So we're gonna go out, we're gonna get out of here for now, you guys. Remember to go out and follow her. Where can they purchase your books, Angela?
Amazon.com. Anywhere books are sold, Amazon. But
Okay.
Amazon for sure, you can get it at Amazon.
Let's go out there and let's continue to support Angela in all that she does. We got to support one another to build one another up. So I believe in doing so. So you guys, we're going to get out of here for now. In the meantime, remember, respect yourself and respect each other. God bless.